So, look, as we mentioned, Congresswoman Grijalva's first act after being sworn in yesterday was to sign the bipartisan petition to release the so-called Epstein files. Members on both sides want these files released, and with her signature, that petition can now move forward in the House. Democrats cheered her on, and two Epstein survivors were actually in the chamber to witness the signing that they had been waiting for. Under House rules, Speaker Mike Johnson must now take mandatory action on the measure. He said yesterday, a vote on the Epstein bill entitled the Epstein Files Transparency Act will be brought to the floor next week. While it now looks like it will pass the House, it faces an uphill battle in the Senate. On social media yesterday, President Trump called out Republicans backing the bill, saying any lawmaker on the right supporting it was, quote, very bad or stupid, and stressed there should be no deflection to Epstein. Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, the House Republican leading the charge on the bill, said he has spoken to colleagues about the vote.
I've already had a couple Republicans tell my office privately that they're going to vote for it, and I think that could snowball. The deal for Republicans on this vote is that Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way. In other words, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles, you've got cover in a Republican primary. But I would remind my colleagues that this vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president. And what are you going to do in 2028 and 2030 when you're in a debate, either with a Republican or a Democrat, and they say, how can we trust you? You covered up for a pedophile back in 2025.
But I don't think it even is 2028. I think the conflict within the MAGA base is right now. Let's bring around MSNBC national affairs analyst and a partner and chief political columnist at Puck, John Heilemann, also MSNBC senior reporter, legal reporter and former litigator Lisa Rubin, also with us, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, where most of this happened, Dave Ehrenberg. John Heilemann, I want to start with you. You know, if it were only so easy for a Republican congressman or congresswoman or senator, as it has been since Donald Trump became president in 2017, it's been very simple. Don't make the president mad. Keep the MAGA base with you. Win primaries. It's not, I actually think that Congressman Massie may have been getting a bit of his analysis wrong, because it's not worrying about what your political world looks like in 2028 when Donald Trump's gone. It's what it looks like now, because the MAGA base they want these Epstein files released. So it's when you have the FBI director and the attorney general lobbying a congresswoman from Colorado, saying, get off the petition, and they do the same to Nancy Mace, and both of those members say no. You know right there that there is a deep divide in the MAGA base, and actually voting to cover this up, voting to keep what they consider and what they've considered for a decade, this conspiracy under wraps, actually ends up hurting you more with your Republican base, right?
Well, yes, Joe, and I would say it's actually a hit in no matter which direction you look at this, right? You've got the problem, which is with the Republican base, if you're worried about getting primaried. On the other side, you've got a general electorate where the polling is overwhelmingly in favor of releasing the Epstein files. You were talking before about good gets better and bad gets worse, right?
Right.
And how things build on each other. If you think about what the message of the off-year elections were, they've scared Republicans, rightly so, everywhere about the way that things are going for them, about all those counties that are shifting into the blue, about the overwhelming kind of up and down, coast to coast Democratic repudiation of Republicans in those off-year elections. Now, think about the United States Senate, where if the House does pass this vote, to force the release of the Epstein files, it moves to the Senate, where I believe that the filibuster won't be in play. It'll be a straight up down majority vote. You got 13 sitting Republican senators running for re-election in 2026. We could go through the list of those people. How many of those people want to take a vote against not just the Republican base, but also about 3/4 of the general electorate that wants to see the Epstein files released? Puts them in an incredibly difficult position. I don't think people are saying it's going to be an uphill fight in the Senate. I'm not sure that's right. You need 4 Republican senators to get this through the Senate. Are there 4 of the 13 sitting Republican senators who are up for re-election who are not going to get on the side of this issue where 75% of the American public is and where the MAGA base increasingly is also? I don't really see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the MAGA base has been there. Like, MAGA base has been pushing this for a decade. The MAGA base has been saying that the powers that be, is like the deep state, has been protecting rich, powerful men who are pedophiles and release the documents. That's all we've heard. Remember, Pam Bondi called the right-wing influencers over and gave them notebooks with very little inside of them, binders with very little inside of them. So it is a central issue for them. But you bring up a great point. We're all focused on the House because that's where I'm a member of the House. If they're conspiracy theorists, chances are good they swirl around in the backbenches of the House. But you bring up a great point. You've got senators that are going to be running, Republican senators that are going to be running. And I've seen it firsthand. The things that you think should break through to the American people don't break through. During Bill Clinton's term, there were a lot of things that I thought should break through that didn't break through. And then it was a personal situation, let's just say, that broke through. And I was thinking, wait, okay, they're going to impeach him for this, but they were okay with, like, missile cells to China that, like, everybody at the DOD said he should never do. But you never know what's going to break through. This is one of those things that break through. And so if you're a Republican senator and you're sitting fairly comfortably, maybe you think you're going to win easily, or by 3 or 4 or 5 points. You just saw what happened last week. The massive wave elections coast to coast. You saw what happened in even Bucks County, the swingiest swing county in America, practically. You'd have to be pretty stupid to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to be on the side of covering up the Epstein files. I think you're right. I think as this gets through the House and goes to the Senate, there are going to be a lot of Republican senators who said no to Donald Trump on the filibuster that are probably going to say no to him on covering up the Epstein files.
So listen,
I mean, Joe, this filibuster. The filibuster thing was very much on my mind. You know, the Republican Senate, which has almost never bucked Trump on anything, in the wake of the election results, on the off-year election results that Tuesday, November 4th, immediately thereafter we saw, and it hasn't gotten enough attention, we saw Republican senators suddenly find their backbone on the question of the filibuster. If Republican senators told Trump to pound sand in the wake of the off-year elections on the filibuster, are they really just going to cave into Trump on an issue like this, which, as you say, is cutting through? Most Americans still don't really understand the filibuster. I'm not sure I understand the filibuster, but everybody understands this Jeffrey Epstein story. And you are going to see the survivors out in force again. They are going to be saying, are you really, Senator Susan Collins, are you really going to vote against the wishes of the Jeffrey Epstein survivors who want to see these files come out? They're going to make that case, if they have any political savvy, and they have shown that they do. They're going to make that case to every swing sitting Republican senator who's in any way vulnerable. And I think it's going to be a very hard vote to resist for someone like, say, Susan Collins. I don't see it. I can't imagine Susan Collins is going to side with Donald Trump and against the Epstein survivors. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I think there are at least 4 of them who are going to be like that.
This is what the base wanted. This was about 2 systems of justice. This is about young girls being victimized. Who's going to vote against trying to get justice in this case of Jeffrey Epstein? That's the question.